All right, what is up, guys? Thursday, April the 20th, 2023. Hope you're all doing well. Chris Phillips here, your host of the Daily Crow of the Spurs Up Show. Appreciate you all tuning in. I see C, Youngblood, Travie, Jeff, DGD, Noah Johns, GA. What's going on? Also, those in the Big Cock Club Discord. Head over to the TDC Questions channel, the TDC Questions channel, to be sure your questions are answered there, guys. We are rocking. We are rolling. John Everett, what's up? I'll see you tonight, my friend Justin Langford. Appreciate you as well. Very excited to chat with you all here on this Thursday. We got a lot to get into. Of course, guys, podcast also dropped this morning, episode 777, a full breakdown of this weekend against the Florida Gators. Of course, we also talked recruiting, some different rumors around Gamecocks football. Also, great conversation with my good friend Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews. Of course, we've had Brett on the show before. We look back at the 2022 season, talk a little Spencer Rattler, Juice Wells, spring game, and just talk a little bit about the 2023 season. We're going to get Brett Ciancia on the show later in the summer when his magazine drops, and we will do a full deep dive of the 2023 season and the football team and everything as well. So looking forward to that. Again, check out the pod that dropped this morning. Of course, guys, as always, TDC brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks. Go down the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com. And when you do, use that promo code TSUS to receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Guys, you can play literally anything and everything, college sports, pro sports, you name it, they have got it over at Prize Picks. So again, check them out. So many fans and listeners of the Daily Crow and of the Spurs Up Show have made tons of money with our friends at Prize Picks, and you should as well. So again, go check out prizepicks.com or head over to the Prize Picks app. Use promo code TSUS to get your 100% instant deposit match up to $100. Check them out. Tell them that Chris and the Spurs Up Show sent you. With that being said, let's jump to the phone lines.
Call from
Charles.
Charles, what's up, man? How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. What's going on?
All right, I got two baseball-related questions for you. So the first one, why do you think Sanders' velo has been down all year? And what do you think about that? Like, I don't think he's injured, but why do you think? Because I mean, even in the fall, we saw videos and stuff of him throwing 97 on TrackMan. Like, what do you think's up with that?
You know, I that's a great question. I've noticed that as well. He's more so down around 93, 94, even 92 a little bit. I don't know if he's for the sake of longevity. Maybe he's not going at 100%. I don't really, want to believe that. I mean, you feel like if he maxes out, he can still hit that number. I mean, I remember actually a couple of weekends ago, he did touch 97 once. So I think it's in there. I don't know if he's trying to, for the sake of, like I mentioned, lengthening starts, lengthening his use in the season. I don't know if he's kind of scaling back, but I think we'd all agree, right, that whatever it is, it's not, he's not reaching his full potential doing whatever he's doing. So I don't know, though, other than that, because I agree with you, man. They wouldn't be throwing him if he wasn't hurt, right? I don't know exactly what it is. If there's something mechanically there, I mean, there could be something mechanically, but I don't know. I think that's a great question for sure. We may not know until after the season, but yeah, it's been something that I've noticed as well.
And my second question is, obviously with Hall being hurt, we have the pitching depth, but it obviously always hurts to lose a starter. Why do you think it feels like we haven't trusted Mahoney to go longer into games? I know Mississippi State, he got pulled out with 65 pitches, and then last weekend he got pulled out with 70. Do you think that was just a situational thing with him, or maybe him coming back from injury that they aren't letting him get up to that 100 pitch count?
Well, I think that you make a great point in regards to coming back from Tommy John. I mean, that could have something to do with it. Maybe they don't want to, overexert him or use him more than necessary. I mean, again, I think you also have to think about the fact that, maybe they're trying to, it's a marathon, not a sprint, and so I think maybe they're trying to conserve these guys for when you get down the road, late May, if you will, you get to the postseason, SEC tournament, regional supers. You don't want your guys being burnt out. With that being said, though, I actually talked about this morning on Inside the Gamecocks with JB and JC and Phil, that, Will Sanders and Jack Mahoney both, man, to your point, at some point, those guys have got to start going longer than 5 innings. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to need them to stretch it out a little bit and conserve your bullpen, especially right now with Noah Hall being out and there's mystery in game 3, who starts and who you throw. So, you need both those guys to step up, man. I think it's a huge weekend for both of them. Again, with the Mahoney situation, could it be more so injury related or coming off that injury from, what was it now, 2 years ago, though? So, I don't know that it would be injury related necessarily, but you definitely need more out of those guys because I tell you what's so crazy is we sit here 10-4 in SEC play. And I think Will Sanders and especially Jack Mahoney, they've been solid. I don't think they've been elite. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think our starting pitching's been elite, and we're still 10-4. So imagine if it just one of those guys gets rolling. Imagine if one of them gets hot and pitches to that elite level that we feel like they can get to, and they start giving you a consistent 6-7 innings, 2-3 earned runs. You're really going to be cooking then. So maybe it starts this weekend, but I definitely think getting more out of those two guys with Noah Hall out, I think it's definitely a point of emphasis moving forward.
Gotcha, man. Well, that's all I got, but I appreciate your time today.
Hey, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Great questions. Great stuff. Yeah, great stuff. That's a great start to the show, and I definitely wanted to get into that, guys, with Noah Hall being out. There's just more pressure on Will Sanders and Jack Mahoney. It's inevitable. It's inevitable, right? So, we'll see what they do this weekend. Tough Gators lineup, man. I think these two teams, and of course you guys have probably seen already, I do have the Gamecocks winning 2 of 3. I'm sure many of you are tuned in and saying to yourself, well, we're losing 2 of 3 or we're getting swept because Chris is the ultimate jinx, which, again, is so funny. I have picked Carolina to win a series so many times this year, and they have won a series so many times this year. So, people just only pay attention when we miss. They only want to give they only want to give commentary when you miss. They don't want to give commentary when you hit. So whatever, it is what it is. I feel good about the weekend though. I got the Gamecocks, like I said, winning 2 of 3. Feel really, really, really comfortable with it. And so I'm excited for the weekend. I think it's a great opportunity for Carolina. It is a great opportunity for Carolina to continue to reaffirm to people that they are for real, legit when it comes to like a top 8 national seed and what have you. But anyways, guys, also later in the show, JC Sherbert will join us at 1:15. I'm very, very excited to talk to JC on the football side of things in regards to the Jordan Burch rumors. We'll also get an update on Jalen Nichols, if you will. I think there's a lot of things, spring game talk. We'll talk a lot of college football, Gamecocks. We'll also touch on the baseball stuff, but of course, JC and also recruiting. My goodness, we'll talk a ton of recruiting. Let's see. Anyways, guys, 843-790-3377. Someone would love to hear from you all. 843-790-3377. Let's see. Nick Proctor. Yeah, Blake Hastings says Nick Proctor looks good. Yeah, Nick Proctor looked really good in that Tuesday game. Maybe he can help you on the weekend. Maybe he can. Madison, yeah, this is the pinstripe jersey here. It's actually got a 12 on the back. I got it for Justin Smoke. So told you, man, I'm a Smoke guy. I might have to get me an Ethan Petrie jersey here soon, though. I don't rock jerseys nearly as much as I used to, but I do like a good jersey. So let's see. Again, guys, the recruiting yesterday, after we got off the air, right? Mike Williams came in, Kelvin Hunter came in, then Braden Lee right after we got off the air. South Carolina crushing in recruiting, as I mentioned earlier or mentioned yesterday, and I dropped a clip late yesterday. And it's just what's happening right now in Columbia is just unprecedented when it comes to recruiting. We've never seen this type of recruiting before. Our good friend Brad Crawford just dropped game-by-game predictions, full predictions for the entire ACC. Let's see what he's got for Clem Sucks. Let's see. What does he have? He's also got North Carolina going 7-5, 4-4 in the ACC. He's got Clem Sucks 11-1. 11-1. Wow. Wow. He's got their one loss to Notre Dame. So I'm assuming that Brad is a believer in Garrett Riley. He's got to be. He's got to be a believer in Garrett Riley. So, I don't know. Anyways, Clem sucks 11-1. Jeff Gullett says, I've been toned out lately due to work, so you might have given your take on it. You're saving it, but what is your thought about Jordan wanting to come back? Jeff, I'll just, there's a lot of back and forth. The debate on this is very interesting, and it's so funny, by the way, guys, because I have so many people. There's people that will comment on certain posts that say, we don't care what this guy has to say. We don't care about this topic, and I speak directly on the Mark Ryan conversation yesterday and his thoughts on the Jordan Burch thing, and it's so funny when it comes to like a guy like Mark Ryan. Am I sitting here telling you every take he's ever had has been great? Hell no. Mark's had some horrific takes. He's had some takes that I adamantly disagreed with, but I'm a content man. People care what Mark Ryan has to say. They care because his thoughts on Jordan Burch and him not, he wouldn't take it back. 6,452 views on Twitter right now. 5 retweets, 32 replies, 21,000 views on the old Bird app. Man, folks, I'm a content man. Those numbers play. They play very well, right? So, it's one of those things where it's like people care. It's almost like it is what it really is people hate Mark Ryan. Some people hate Mark Ryan so much they can't wait to hear what he has to say next. They just can't wait because what craziness is going to come out of his mouth. Anyways, the Jordan Burch thing. I will say, number one, as we all know, it's Shane Beamer's and that team's decision to make. I would put it to a vote to the football team. If there is any doubt or, I think this goes against what we're building, you don't bring him back. Right? It depends on the nature of the exit. It depends on variables that we just simply do not have access to the information of what happened upon his departure. With that being said, would Jordan Burch help you at the edge? Sure. But I would not risk compromising the culture that you've built for one guy. I wouldn't do it. I think it's messy. I think it's messy if you bring him back. I personally wouldn't do it. And it's not even like a hard feelings like screw you. It's just, what's been done has been done. And there's no putting the toothpaste back in the tube. It's what's done is done. You know what I mean? What's done is done. And maybe this will be a good learning lesson for you to learn that, when you make a decision, you got to learn from that decision. You got to learn from that, So there's a lot of variables, like I said, that we don't know about. But me personally, I don't think so. I don't think one guy, the impact that he would have, he's not some All-American guys. Jordan Burch was an ice player. He wasn't an All-American, All-Conference guy. So I would say, we'll be fine. We're good. We're not going to potentially hurt the culture that we've built for this one guy. That's just me. Now, again, if Beamer identifies that, there was a misunderstanding here, or, whatever, the exit was graceful and then so be it. But just from what we know, from what I know, I don't think I would take Burch back. I don't know. I just, from our vantage point, I wouldn't. Jeremy Wardell says your job's to win games, and he helps us win games. Does he, Jeremy? Does he really? He was part of a defensive front that gave up 194 yards per game on the ground. He got sucked in on every freaking read option. I don't think I will roll with Desmond Umeozulu at the edge. I will. I'll roll with Umeozulu, and I'll roll the dice there and just rock with that guy. I will. I will. So Coleman Hall, is this Burch talk anything more than hot air per sources? Well, Coleman, we're going to have JC Sherbert on later. And I won't spend a lot of time talking about it, but I will ask about it because JC is Coleman to keep it a buck. He's one of the dudes I asked about it, and he confirmed that there was real talk that Burch would like to come back. So it's not just some guy on Twitter said this or somebody, I think you would trust JC Sherbert. I don't know why either. I don't get the benefit of the doubt. I don't know why I don't. Why don't I get the benefit of the doubt? I don't pride myself on being a per sources guy, insider guy, whatever, but I've built TSUS up to a point, not trying to like ego pump my chest up, but I've built TSUS up to a point where, just being, having the platform you have, it's just you run into information, you hear things, you hear certain things, you talk to people. So anyways, I'm not saying, Coleman, you're asking an unfair question because there is definitely a difference. We do come across rumors that are some have legitimacy, some have none. So, no, this is something I talked with JC about, and he did confirm that there was real traction here. And who knows what's going to happen. But yeah, anyways, not just a Twitter rumor. I'll put it that way. Will Croson says, what makes Florida's bullpen suspect, like you have mentioned this week, is the lack of depth. They just haven't pitched well. I mean, bottom line, you look at the numbers, I think they've got like a 5.7 ERA in the bullpen. So, their bullpen ranks middle of the pack in the SEC. I'm not saying they're terrible, Will. I'm not saying they don't have guys that throw hard. I'm not saying they don't have talented guys, but they've blown some leads late in games. That's happened more than a couple of times for them. The games they've lost, it seems like they've blown them in the 8th and 9th inning. So bullpen has definitely been their issue this season. Again, it's Florida, man. They've got dudes that throw gas. I mean, they got dudes that if they figure it out, they cut it on. They're extremely talented pitchers, right? They're extremely talented pitchers. But that has been an area of concern. And Brandon is out, their closer, due to suspension. So, that does not help either. Anyways, guys, let's see. 843-790-3377. Want to continue to hear from you. Jeff Tarpley says, per my sources, Dabo is an idiot. Sources confirm that is correct. Let's see. Will Hall, Chris, did you see the news that Dabo's talking about pulling scholarships from former walk-ons if they're over their max roster limit by August? I did see that, and I don't know. Coleman Hall says, we're thin at DN and edge. Burch is a former 5-star SEC starter. Not sure how you turn that down in the transfer portal if it came your way. I mean, again, Coleman, it all falls at the feet of Shane Beamer. It depends on the nature of the exit. I mean, Coleman, it'd be like me telling you, though, like, Jaheim Bell was a former 4-star SEC starter, this, that. Would you take him back? Marshawn Lloyd, kind of same thing. I mean, I don't know, if the rumors are true of how the nature of his exit. I think the nature of the exit definitely matters. I think the nature of the exit absolutely matters. But, because the big thing would be this. It's nobody's saying it wouldn't be beneficial to take a talented player from the portal. But would it go against the culture that you're building? That's what the question would come back to, right? How does it impact your locker room? How does it impact your culture? Because, compromising what you've built in the locker room would not be worth one solid player. It's just not. I mean, dude, it's not. Flat out, it's just not. So. But listen, I will say this. If Jordan Burch came back, I'd welcome him back. I'd be happy that it was back. Because, again, Beamer would have made that decision. And, we all trust what Beamer does and what he has to say. And, I mean, I'd be happy to have him back. I'd have no problem with him coming back as long as Beamer signs off on it. But if you're just asking me from my perspective, I don't think I would. Personally, I don't think I would. I think I'd say, you know what? We've recruited well at defensive line. We believe in our guys, the toothpaste side of the tube, and we're good. I just say we're good. We're good. Ruination, what's up, man? Appreciate you. What's going on? Let's see. Jeremy Wardell says, if anyone on here thinks we are better without Burch on our team, well, I can't help you. I mean, Jeremy, we might be better with him. We might be better with him. But how much better? Ben Smith, you got roasted on the Big Spur. Didn't join in because you're my guy in the Best Gamecocks podcast. What are your thoughts on that? Ben, I didn't see anything, Ben. So I am unfamiliar with the roasting on the Big Spur that you have mentioned. I honestly have not seen it at all, which I don't give a damn, bro. They've been roasting me on the Big Spur for years, bro. Literally for years. So I didn't even see it, to be honest with you. And I've always just looked at it this way, man. If there are threads being created about me on Gamecock message boards, that's a positive. Like, we're making waves. Like we are putting opinions out in the universe that are moving the needle, and that's a great spot to be in. That's a great. I hope there's more of that in the near future. I really do. We are putting out takes, but see, you know what's funny about that? To your point, Ben. And this is just, and I understand. Listen, I'm not really griping about the way social media works because I've been able to build my business on social media, and it's worked out really well, if I do say so myself. But it's funny how people only comment on and utilize the content that backs whatever spin narrative they're trying to push. Like, this guy's a Clemson fan. He hates the Gamecocks. He's a hater. He's negative. He's toxic. Right? They're only going to comment on posts that support that. So when I'm being critical, I'm picking a loss, I'm calling out this person, that person, or I'm just kind of, I have an edgy take or opinion. It's only those comments and posts, right? Because I believe in keeping the energy consistent. I'm not 100% positive. I'm not 100% negative. I'm just all across the board, call it as you see it, black and white, whatever. So like yesterday, for example, when I have and it did really well, by the way. I'm not complaining how this did because right now, I mean, I'm not like a dude that sits here and counts views, but 2,700 views, that's pretty solid on Twitter. It did well, but it's so funny. The people that spew this hatred and BS, they don't give the same energy to, like, when I'm talking about the great things that Shane Beamer is doing and the great job he's doing in recruiting. They don't give the same energy to the positive things I say about a guy like a DeCarrion Joyner, or when I give credit to Jordan Burch after the season, or they just don't give those things the same energy. They only utilize I won't even say negative. They only utilize the edgy post to further push whatever narrative it is. So, I mean, whatever, bro. It is what it is. That's why you just got to kind of keep rocking and rolling and stay true to yourself and be genuine and honest. And, you know, once you put, guys, what I've learned, and I knew this way early on, and I would tell any content creator, once you put a piece of content out there, once you put an opinion out there, how the masses respond to it is not your responsibility. It's just not. Focus on what you can control what you can control, which is staying true and genuine to yourself and operating as such. Giving an honest opinion, giving a real opinion, giving a real take, no matter who it pisses off, no matter who likes it. Because, again, how you consume something I say, it's not my responsibility. It's really not. At the end of the day, it's not. And so that's where a lot of these Gamecock content creators and a lot of content creators in general, they just want everyone to like them. Dude, not everybody's going to like you. It doesn't matter what you do. You could be 24/7 sunshine pumping. There's some people that hate that. Dude, you're so nauseatingly optimistic. Stop. You keep it real, keep it a buck. You're critical. Oh, my God, you're so negative, you're toxic. There's no winning. There's no winning, right? That's why you got to be true and genuine to yourself. That's it. That's it. So, yeah, anyway. So the people in the Big Spur, they're upset that I said something about Luke Doty and what I would do if I was Doty. Doesn't really faze me at all, my guy. It just is what it is. I mean, I don't even think the take I gave was all that hot. I don't think it was all that hot. I mean, I said if I was Doty and it was about playing time, I would transfer. That's not a hot take. That's a pretty normal thing. People are hitting the portal left and right in college football. I'm assuming that's what it was about because I think somebody actually mentioned this yesterday. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, too, on the message boards. It's like the scum of Twitter. That's kind of where those people congregate. So, whatever. Anyways, we're getting off topic. 843-790-3377, guys. 843-790-3377. I want to continue to hear from you, of course. Your questions, comments, calls. A huge series this weekend. Huge series this weekend at Founders Park, I should say. Gamecocks taking on Ben Smith lying about the spring game attendance. Well, I didn't lie about the spring game attendance, Ben. I honestly genuinely thought that Willie B, the bottom bowl, held 37,000. I didn't know it. So that was I didn't know. If it's 42,000, great. I didn't say what the attendance was, though. About lying. Oh, okay. Dude, everybody lies about spring game attendance. They're all just made up. They're all made up numbers. Let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Robbie Davis, Zaxby Hall of Famer.
Robbie, what's going on, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing on this Thursday?
I am doing fantastic, my friend. I appreciate you asking what's going on.
Okay, I'm going to give you my opinions on what I would do with Burch and then give you my predictions and then get off of here.
Okay.
Okay. So are you ready?
Go ahead. Yep.
If I was the head football coach anywhere, it doesn't have to be South Carolina. If there was a guy that left and I had nothing to do with it, it was all his decision. If he wanted to come back, I would put it to a team vote. I would get everybody in the main team meeting room, have him standing up there next to me, and I'll tell him, like, it's up to them. So I would tell the team that I'm coaching at that time, I'll be like, okay, those of you that want him that are okay with him coming back, I want you to stand up. Those of you that want him to leave and not come back, stay seated.
Yeah, I mean, I think a team vote. I think a team vote's the way to go. I do agree with you.
I would put it I'd be like, it's not up to me, it's up to them, because I'm not the one that you stabbed. Obviously, yeah, you stabbed me in the back, kind of, sort of, but technically, you stabbed them in the back worse than me, because these were your teammates. So I'm putting it on them. So that's what I would do, in my opinion. And then also for tonight and the Friday and Saturday, I after the way we've been playing the last couple of weekends, I've wanted to pick us to sweep so bad, but I just can't do it, just solely based off of how our defense has been the last few games. But I do believe we'll take 2 out of 3, and I think we'll win tonight and win Friday and lose on Saturday.
Okay. Fair enough.
And I got 7-2, 7-4, and 6-2, but I think double digits. I think if we can somehow get double digit runs, that would help tremendously. But those are my predictions for the weekend. So, and who's pitching for us tonight?
Tonight, Will
pitching,
Sanders.
right?
Yes. Tonight, Will Sanders. Yes. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So even if we have a series start on a Thursday, he's pitching on a Thursday. Okay, got it. I don't know why I thought somebody else would be pitching for some reason. But anyways, those are my thoughts on the Burch thing and my predictions. And safe travels to Fort Mill today. Okay. Because some people don't know how to drive correctly. So safe travels. Go Gamecocks, and to heck with Clemson.
Robbie, you're the man. I appreciate the call. Always great stuff from you, my friend.
You're welcome, buddy. Have a good one.
Yeah, man. Take care. Great stuff from Robbie Davis. He feels good going in the weekend. And I definitely think you'll see double digits scored at some point this weekend. These two offenses, 2 of the best in college baseball. And, yeah, I think without a doubt, you're going to see some offensive fireworks. I think you're going to see a lot of runs scored this weekend, guys. Hitting's the name of the game, man, in college baseball. I've been wrong before. You know, I thought it was going to be a pitching duel with Paul Skeens and, and South going to tease off. So you never know. But I'd be surprised if it's not a lot of runs. I really would. So we shall see. Let's get into your questions. Look at your questions here. Let's see. Again, Ben, I literally, Ben, while Robbie was on the phone, just looked at 4 pages of the Big Spur and did not even see the thread you were talking about. So I don't know. I have no idea, my guy. Whatever. Let them chat. The only thing I said about spring game attendance, I didn't say that people were lying about it, but Paul Feinbaum tweeted, "What's your favorite completely made up college football stat?" And I said, every spring game attendance number tweeted ever by any official team account. I mean, I think that's funny. I don't know. Some people just take it so extremely personal, bro. Some people just take it so extremely personal. I didn't say anybody's ever lying, but like, dude, you don't count tickets. Like you're not counting tickets. So like the numbers are made up. They are. They are. Everybody's making the numbers up. Let's see. Chris says, are we going to be hurt if all three of those guys who were separated from the team don't come back at all? Well, Anthony Rose is already in the transfer portal. And the other two, Upshaw and Rames, I wouldn't expect them back. So I think at this point, man, Chris, you're kind of moving as if they're not a part of the team. And if you get even one of them back, it's just a massive bonus. But, yeah, so let's see. Braddock, what's up, my friend? What's going on? Let's see. Will Hall. Let's see. Jeff Tarpley, I'm not exactly sure what the running back situation looks like in the portal. Will Hall says that was just looking at a depth chart from ourlads.com, updated a few days ago. I don't agree with it. I'm just saying, yeah, I just got this pulled up. They've got Juice, Leggett, and Brown starting at receiver. I mean, again, you can look at this entire thing if you want. They got Tyreek Johnson at the defensive end. Brian Thomas backing him up. Yeah, interesting. Interesting, those guys. It's crazy, man. To sit down and do depth charts for every team that would take a while. That would take a while. Ben Smith, what's the issue with all the errors and the fielding? Is it just lack of focus? I mean, I always look at it, Ben. There are physical mistakes and there are mental mistakes, right? There are physical mistakes, and there are mental mistakes. And I look at the errors in the field as more so mental mistakes than anything. Listen, physical mistakes are going to happen. You dive for a ball and you miss it. You try to make a tough play, backhanded, short hop. It's going to happen. But a lot of these errors are just they're just easy plays. You know what I mean? So you got to clean it up. I think it will get cleaned up. I think it just I mean, listen, man, baseball is a hard game, Ben. And if you lose your focus even just for a second, right? Just for a second, you know, you can make an error, boot a ball, what have you. And it seems like, too, when you make errors and you're thinking to yourself, God, I hope I don't get one hit to me because I'm just struggling right now mentally. That's when the ball finds you, right? That's when the ball finds you. So, yeah, I think it'll get cleaned up. I'm not overly concerned about it right now, but it definitely has to get corrected, no doubt. Let's see. Coach Ford says, you can't critique anyone until it blows up. Then everyone has the opinion you had 3 years ago. Look at the people dogging Lloyd about that thigh bruise. When I questioned his injury and heart to play, I was swamped. Yeah, I mean, for sure. Casey Curry, what you hearing about Dylan Stewart? I think he's a Gamecock, or I think he's at least favoring the Gamecocks. I think we got a great chance to land him. Shannon asking about Jalen Nichols. We will ask and talk to JC Sherbert about that today at 1:15. He posted something on his boards about that. It does not sound like great news. I'll just leave it at that. Again, I'll let JC Sherbert expand on that more so. Jeff Gullidge, who was the transfer from FSU. I forget his name. He was an edge. You know, the transfer portal's open right now, so we'll see just kind of what happens with it. I mean, you would assume that South Carolina, again, will be active. I would imagine they will be active. How about this? The Gamecocks capture the 5th straight Palmetto Series trophy. The Gamecocks won this year's head-to-head points competition against Clem Sucks with a final score of 8-5. The Gamecocks swept the Tigers in the 4 major sports in 2022 to 2023, including football, men's and women's basketball, and baseball. The trophy will be presented during a football game against Furman on September the 9th. The Gamecocks now lead the overall Palmetto Series 5-0. So, I didn't know that the Palmetto Series was only a 5-game thing. And we've just won all 5. How about that? That's something. By the way, just really quickly, happy 420 to those that celebrate. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. Happy 420 if you celebrate. If not, ignore me. Big Game Boomer dropped his way too early power rankings for the SEC. He's got Georgia, LSU, Bama, and then the Gamecocks at 4th. Tennessee 5th, A&M 6th. Ole Miss 7th, Arkansas 8th, Mississippi State 9th, and Missouri 10th. I also saw something where Big Game Boomer is picking the Gamecocks to go 10-2. 10-2. Brendan said, "What's up, Chris? Last undergrad class. Congratulations to Brendan M finishing up. How about that? How about that? Congratulations, my friend." Ben Smith, who was the worst OC over the last 7 years? BMAC, Roper, or Satterfield? I think you got to go Kurt Roper, dude. I don't know. I think you got to go Roper. Brian said, "A few days ago, I saw a premium content thread of a Gamecock saying Alabama's in contact with Nick Imamori. Is there any truth to that?" I mean, NIL's a crazy place, Brian. So, I mean, I've heard a little bit that there's been some negotiation, but I don't think Imamori is going anywhere. Listen, we'll ask JC Sherbert about it as well. We'll ask JC Sherbert. Again, it's on his board. So, we will get as much information as possible from JC. So, yeah, Coleman brings up Roper again. You know, that's the only thing. You know, I've heard people have told me that you know, Chris, Connor Shaw's a big Dowell Loggins guy. Loves Dowell Loggins, and I love Connor Shaw. We all do, but our guy Connor was also a big Roper guy, and yeah, so. Again, I don't think it's going to play out the same way. I'm just saying, though, you never know. You never know. Just because somebody's your buddy or they're a good dude, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be that it's going to pan out the way that you hope. Either way, guys, really excited for the weekend. The star power, there will be no shortage of it. Jack Caglione for the Gators and Ethan Petrie for South Carolina. That matchup specifically, and it's why Ethan Petrie is my key player of the weekend. In a weekend like this, where there are stars all over the field, you need your stars to play their best. And Ethan Petrie, I know he's a true freshman. At this point in the season, guys, you're really not a true freshman anymore, right? Like, you've got a ton of experience. You're going into game number 38, right? Conference game number 15. You're almost like a seasoned veteran at this point. So Ethan Petrie being a force yet again. I know he's already done so much for this ball club, but in a weekend like this, you need your stars to shine bright. Ethan Petrie is that guy for the Yardcocks. Going to be great to watch he and Jack Caglione go up against one another. I cannot wait to see it, man. It's going to be an electric series. Guys, we've gone this far in the show without me reminding you. Tonight, we'll be at Carolina Ale House, Fort Mill. Looking forward to getting up there on my Fort Mill Gamecocks, Charlotte Gamecocks, Rock Hill Gamecocks, that entire area. Looking forward to hanging out with you guys. Guys, we'll have all the merchandise on hand, the Beamer Ball to the Moon shirts. We'll have the towels, the koozies to give away. Also, we'll do a little bit of the Q&A, a brief one, probably around 7 or 7:15. And then at 7:30, first pitch for Carolina, Florida on ESPNU. This is serving as a tour/watch party for the game tonight. Going to be a lot of fun. Come on out. Going to be a beautiful night for it, by the way. So come on out to Carolina Ale House, Fort Mill. 6 o'clock is when things get rolling. Really looking forward to seeing you guys out there tonight. Let's see. Yeah, Coleman, that's a good point. I don't give a damn what anybody says. I care about what's on the field. The most important person on the roster liked them enough to hire. All the opinions are just cherries on top. You're right. Hey, Spencer Rattler likes Dowell Loggins. That's really all that matters, because he's the one taking orders, and he's the one running the offense, and he's the one throwing the football. And I hear you, and I agree. Because it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter how much anybody else liked the guy. If Rattler didn't like him, what difference would it make? Yeah, it's a great point. That is a great point. Let's see. Guys, with that being said, let's go ahead. We're going to jump into our first break. Do not forget, we got JC Sherbert upcoming at 1:15. So if you have questions, be sure to get them in now, because JC will take up most of the second hour. That being said, let's jump into that break. More of your questions, your comments, your calls, and more on the other side. You're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking the questions, comments, calls, 843-790-3377. And funny enough, during the break, someone sent me a screenshot from some of the stuff on the Big Spur message board, some of the chatter that was going on about me and TSUS. And I will say the only thing I have to say back is this about one of the comments I saw that people said that I went on the Fan Upstate and said that South Carolina was lying about spring game attendance, but Clem Sucks wasn't. Dude, I trolled Clem Sucks all day Saturday for fabricating that number. That 50,000 number was completely made up. It absolutely was made up. Like, how do you have an even 50,000? It was made up. It absolutely was made up. So, I mean, I that's the only thing I was like, I never said that, oh, Carolina's lying about attendance, but Clem Sucks isn't. Clem Sucks definitely was. They absolutely were. They absolutely were. Like, there's no doubt. There's no way to prove you had 50K in there. There's just no way. And Carolina would have been foolish to not one-up them. Who gives a damn if you had 30,000? It doesn't matter, 20,000. If 5 people showed up, just throw up 51,000. I said they should have said 50,001. That would have been hilarious. That would have been hilarious. People just go, oh, people take everything to the extreme, my friend. It's hilarious. Either way, 843-790-3377. Ben Smith says, if Kingston gets a national seed, top 8, we lose our regional, should he be fired? Monty bombed out a couple home regionals at Clem Sucks. With our bullpen being mediocre, I think that's at least a possibility. Ben, do you think our bullpen's mediocre? Really? I think our bullpen's not too bad. Statistically, it's one of the better bullpens in the conference, right? I mean, I don't know. But the question that you asked is, if he gets a national seed, if we lose the regional, I will say this, Ben, as the wins increase, you're going to reach a point to where there is no moving on from Mark Kingston. I'm not even saying that I want them to do so, but let's say you win 45 games in the regular season. I think he's safe no matter what happens. I really do. And I don't know. Anyways, let's jump to the phone lines here.
Call from
Dave Garrett.
Dave, what's up, my man? How are you?
I'm doing fine. Hope you are as well. I got a couple football comments, but before I get to that, I thought I made the comment to Ravi that I was tired of that Zaxby Hall of Famer bullshit. So I hereby challenge Ravi to a Duke's barbecue eat-off. Now, with that being said, I thought I like Doty okay, but I thought Sellers, in the small sample we got, I thought Sellers did better than Bailey or Doty. I don't understand why Gauthier is still there. And I also thought that Dunn and Twitty did a little better than Juju as far as running the ball. But also, Joyner ran a little harder than what I thought he was going to run. That's all I got. Good luck on Fort Mill. Be careful on the trip, and I will talk to you later.
Dave, you're the man. I appreciate it. So a Duke's barbecue eat-off between Dave Garrick and Robbie Davis. Somebody needs to get a camera out there and let's see it. The conversation about the running back position and the quarterback too. He said that I think he said Bailey he liked a lot. But the running back position, I liked what I saw from the Carry-On Joyner. I don't know if Dunn and Twitty are going to surpass Juju McDowell as one of the top running backs. But I think that the conversation continues, right, about who is RB1. I mean, flat out, just who is RB1. We don't know. We just flat out don't know. I got to still think they're going to pick up somebody from the portal. I've talked a lot about this, guys, and I won't continue to beat a dead horse, obviously, just hammer it over and over and over again. But I got to think they are going to go to the portal. There's no doubt. Got to think they're going to go to the portal. So we'll see. But, I liked what I saw from the Carry-On Joyner. And I'll just say this, too, that, yeah, to Dave's point, I'm surprised that nobody's hit the portal yet. I'm really surprised. I'll be honest with you. So, Jacob E says Gauthier is not leaving, is the same reason Doty isn't leaving. They aren't good enough to be Power 5 starters. No reason to leave and go sit somewhere else. Well, Jacob, why not go to a group of 5? Is that a like a no-no? Is that frowned upon? I don't know why, by the way, people just get so upset when talking about that. Like, I'm not saying I want them to leave. I don't care if they sit here and rot on the bench all 4 years. Like, it ain't me. I don't give a damn. Like, cool. You just want to wear the jersey? Fine. So be it. That don't bother me. But yeah, I mean, if they want to play, I mean, Colton Gauthier is never going to play. He ain't never going to see a snap here. I know he's had some in garbage time, but that's the extent of what he's going to get. So if he's cool with that, listen, it don't matter. If he's cool with that, it doesn't really matter, man. Doesn't really matter. Does not really matter. Let's see. Guys, we got JC Sherbert up coming at 1:15. We'll probably take a break at about 1:10 before he jumps on. Madison, the traffic around Willie B today is horrendous. Stay away. Okay, for those in Columbia, stay away from Willie B. Horrendous traffic. Ben Smith, do y'all think Monterio Hardesty's a good coach? I was pissed when we had to use Bell last year. Seems like he can't recruit or develop players. You know, tough to say, Ben. Tough to say. Let's see what Dontavius Braswell does. I think that's another factor in the running back room we're not thinking about right now. But, yeah, running back was weird last year. Running back was weird. I mean, listen, the Bell thing, Ben, I don't think that had anything to do with Monterio Hardesty making the decision to – that was solely to appease to Jaheim Bell. That's all that was. That was Jaheim Bell was getting upset. His family was getting upset. And it was like, how can we get him on the field as quickly as possible and show to him and his family that we're going to utilize him? And, I mean, you guys remember, I think his first game, he was at running back. He had like 20 carries. I mean, that was throwing a Band-Aid on that situation. That really was. That was nothing more than that. So I think that's sort of out of Monterio Hardesty's hands. The Lloyd injury last year did not make things very easy, or the Lloyd thigh bruise or whatever it was that kept him out. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest thing to navigate. And so, you know, I don't know. I don't necessarily hold that against Monterio Hardesty, if you will. Let's see here. Let's look at the SEC baseball schedule for the weekend. South Carolina, of course, taking on Florida tonight. Georgia, Arkansas in Athens, the other matchup. The 5th-ranked Razorbacks go on the road. That one's on SEC Network. And, of course, Gamecocks Gators on ESPNU tonight. How about this one? Tennessee, Vandy in Knoxville. That'll be the SEC Network game tomorrow night. Georgia, Arkansas, of course. Kentucky, A&M in Lexington. Auburn, Mississippi State in Auburn. Mizzou, Alabama in Como. And Ole Miss taking on LSU in Oxford. That'll be a really fun series. You know, Ole Miss, even though they've had a rough year, their fans will show up and show out and be crazy. We all know that. So, let's see. Austin Greer says running backs don't matter. I mean, it definitely is a position, Austin, that has lost the value that it once had, for sure. John Everett says, worst baseball stadium in the SEC. You know, I haven't been to them all, John Edward. I will say this, though. As good as Tennessee is, and I guess they're not really good this year at all, but I went to Lindsey Nelson last year. And to be fair, right, because it's a dump, but to be fair, Lindsey Nelson's one of those ballparks you can tell was built when college ballparks were just that. They were just college ballparks. Like now, stadiums are a whole different ordeal. The facilities in college sports are crazy. I don't think anybody saw it coming. If you'd asked somebody 20 years ago or told them what the college facilities would be like, they probably wouldn't have believed you, right? So I would say, though, I mean, I've only, I'm thinking off the top of my head. I mean, Lindsey Nelson's got to be up there. It's not a very good ballpark. It's not a good ballpark. So, let's see. Lynn Turner says, I feel like a broken record pointing out there's more to college than playing time. They are taking advantage of the scholarship to achieve their own goals. There's something to say about enjoying being on the team and not having to take the Saturday punishment. I mean, Lynn, for sure. And maybe we should just drop it. Just stop talking about transfer portal stuff. Like, hey, whoever's here, and whoever leaves, great. But there's almost no point, Lynn, in speculating. And maybe we should just truly drop it, right? Because, like you mentioned, people have different goals for why they want to stick it out and be on the football team. And for them, some people, it's not all about playing time. It's just not. So, that's why I really know. People ask me, hey, what do you think this guy's going to do? Do you think this guy's going to hit the portal? And it's just like, you're not in his head. You don't know. But again, Lynn, I would say, and everybody else, if you ask me, and I was asked, what would you do if you were in his shoes? What am I going to say? I don't have a comment. Like, of course I'm going to answer it. Like, yeah. But I also mention again, I'm speaking from a perspective and a vantage point that is my own. I don't have full perspective. So, Brewer Nation, running back does matter. It takes pressure off the quarterback and makes defenses defend both the pass and the running game. So, I mean, you make a good point. Osterger says you're only as good as your offensive line. That's a great point. And I know we're getting way out ahead of ourselves because we'll do our position unit preview series and we'll break all that stuff down for sure, right? I mean, we'll dive into that as we get through the preseason. But I posed this question in our Big Cock Club Discord, and I'd ask you guys, I mean, is anybody concerned about the offensive line? I think there's real reason to be concerned. Really, truly. And I'm trying to get these statistics pulled up here. Let's see. Where is it? Where are the stats? Where are the stats? Let me see. Trying to find these stats real quick, guys, on the offensive line. Here we go. Oh, nope, that's not it. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Here's the statistics. So South Carolina last year, 106th in rushing offense and 81st in sacks allowed. 106th in rushing offense, 81st in sacks allowed. The offensive line is, yes, and your starting and best O-lineman got hurt in the spring game. So, yeah, I mean, it's, it's just, the O-line's a question mark. I mean, in 2 to 3 years, our O-line's going to be a strength. With the guys we're recruiting, the O-line's going to be a strength. But right now, now if Nichols is out for an extended period of time, a.k.a. the entire season, now you've got just 2 returners back from last year in regards to guys that were your starters. I mean, I think you've got experience back, no question, but it's without a doubt a question mark for sure. Guys, again, really, really excited for this weekend. Excited. And I will say this, the Rowdy Roosters. Monty Lee went on Inside the Gamecocks yesterday, I was told, and was pleading with the Rowdy Roosters. Come out to Founders Park. We need you. We need you to make an impact. And I want to take you back to a time. Spring of 2021, I was at Founders Park when South Carolina played Florida. And what's interesting about that series is that was post-COVID when we only had like 20% capacity. And even in that weekend, with the few in numbers that we had, the Rowdy Roosters got under Florida's skin all weekend long. I'll never forget the Friday game, forget who it was, the name of the starting pitcher. But walking in from the bullpen, finishing up his warm-ups, he does this to the student section, or does this to the fans, the little chirping mouth, if you will. After the series, Josh Rivera, who is the Gators starting shortstop tonight and all weekend long, he was getting into verbal altercations with the fans. You guys probably recall this. This was the Hickey crotch grab weekend when he did that round of the bases and the Gamecocks came back, won the game, and they swept Florida. But this is a team we've literally seen players on this roster firsthand come into Founders Park and allow the crowd to get under their skin. So the Rowdy Roosters, It's your time to shine. 2 night games at Founders Park tonight, tomorrow. It is on the Rowdy Roosters to make Founders Park the most electric environment in all of college baseball. And I may catch some flack for this, but you know what? I'm going to say it. Heckle away, man. Heckle away. Do your best or do your worst, I might say, and make life a living hell for this Florida Gators baseball team for 3 days because, guys, guess what? It's shown before. It works. It worked the last time they were at Founders. Let's do it again. Let's find a way. Give them hell for 3 straight days, and let's see where we are when the dust settles. So, Rowdy Roosters, this weekend is on you. Big weekend at Founders, man. Big weekend at Founders. Ben Smith, do you remember when they were throwing people out and giving warnings out at Founders? Are they not still doing that? I've heard they're still doing that. What a time that was, though, at Founders Park. Tommy Mace was the pitcher. God, I forgot that. Kudos to you for remembering that, Brendan. Yeah, but Tommy Mace was walking in doing the, chirping, whatever. Dude, the Rowdy Roosters. I will say that was a really interesting time to be at ball games because while the crowds, especially baseball, while the crowds weren't big until late in the season when they finally expanded to 100% capacity, while the crowds were not massive, you could hear everything everyone was saying, which almost made it worse, right? The chirps were so clear, right? The chirps were so, it made it very interesting. A different type of challenge. We'll just put it that way. A different type of challenge. So, Travis says, O-line always seems to be a question for us. Really, Travis, it is every year. We had a great conversation again this morning on the podcast with Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews. And I asked him about his greatest, and I got a clip too to post about this, but I asked him about, what are your concerns, right? What are your top concerns for the Gamecocks going into the offseason? And he said, Chris, I feel like we say this every single year on your show, but offensive line. Offensive line. Every year. And I agree with him. We are saying it. Dude, Travi, are we not talking about running the ball and stopping the run every single year? It seems like every single year we're talking about it. Every year. I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't know why how is this a 3, 4, 5 year question mark? How is that possible? I don't get it. Austin, I hate Thursday night games in baseball. Is there a reason? Any particular reason why, Austin? So I just got a DM from this guy that says, was great to catch up with you, my guy. Hope to see the legend back out again in Cola. It's a picture of he and Steven Garcia. And I don't know if he's like trolling me or if he dead ass thinks that's me. There's just no way. Like, I get the jokes of that we look alike because we're 2 guys with beards, but Steven Garcia and I do not look alike. Not really. Not really. That's funny. I DM'd him. I was like, that's Steven Garcia, right? What in the world? Ethan says, hate to miss out on Fort Mill tonight. I've got a ticket to watch the game. Have fun watching us get the dub. Yeah, hey, for sure. Listen, I do not take that personally at all, my guy. Hey, have fun. Give them hell. Have fun. Give them hell. Lynn says, Beamer's making the O-line recruiting a priority. That conversation's changing. No doubt it is. No doubt it's changing. Hey, no doubt it's changing. You're right. You're right. Austin Greer, the O-line wasn't bad last year. It was okay. I mean, Austin, it's just, it's hard for me to say that it was great when you're outside the top 100 and running the football and 81st in sacks allowed. I mean, they were good enough down the stretch. Austin, they were not good for the majority of the season. It got better for sure. Like, it wasn't like the top liability, but I wouldn't say the O-line was great. Okay, so the kid said he sent it to the wrong person, so he knew. Okay. I was like, dude, there ain't no way that you thought that. Okay. That's hilarious. Michael Lynn, Chris, who's your favorite TV color commentator? That's an interesting question, Michael. Great question. I don't know. Like, I don't know them all by name. That's the problem. I don't, I'll tell you this, and we've had him on the show. I love listening to a game that KP, Kyle Peterson, is calling. Listening to him, and I've thought this way before I was ever doing my business. Like, I remember watching the College World Series when the Gamecocks won back-to-back national titles and listening to Kyle Peterson. And I just loved listening to him talk baseball. Like, it was fun to listen. It's fun to listen to someone talk about the game that has the passion for it that a guy like KP does. So I love listening to Kyle Peterson on the baseball side of things. Again, football-wise, there's so many of them that call games. I mean, who doesn't love Brad Nessler, right? I mean, he does a great job. Love some Gus Johnson. Bang! Like, it's craziness. I mean, I love me some Todd Ellis and Tommy Suggs. Love some Todd Ellis calling a game, baby. He's at the 30, the 35, the 40, the 45, the 50, the 55. That's such a I remember he had one call one year. Jake Bentley. He couldn't even spit it out that he scored a touchdown. I mean, listen, I will say this too. There's a weird contingency of Gamecock fans on social media that looks like they hate Todd Ellis being our play-by-play guy. And I'll say, even with that being said, that, like, is Todd Ellis, if you totally fandom, if you put him in a room of, radio play-by-play critics, would they say Todd Ellis is one of the best in the world? No. I mean, is Todd Ellis just purely a great play-by-play guy? No, he's not. I don't think so. But, like, when you have a guy calling your games that has the passion for the Gamecocks like Todd Ellis, I mean, it's just, how can you not love it as a Gamecock fan? You know what I mean? How can you not love it as a Gamecock fan? I mean, that's, if you're a Gamecock tuning in, like, you're a diehard, man. Like, you love it. You know what I mean? You love his passion and energy. And I mean, that's what really matters, dude. If you're a college radio play-by-play guy, you just need to love the team you're calling, right? And, like, having that emotion, that energy come out. Ben Smith, yeah, it's no shade on anybody, but Andy Demetra, he was awesome, dude. I've had him on the show. He was incredible. I mean, the voice of some of the best moments in Gamecocks history. So, who cares, Tommy? Who cares? Yeah, GA throwing that one up. Yeah, Todd Ellis has got some funny calls, though. One of my favorite Todd Ellis, two of my favorite Todd Ellis calls, 06 Clem Sucks, when he says Death Valley is silent. That one is just electric. And then the 2013 Clem Sucks game, after Pharaoh Cooper scores the touchdown, that trick play. Or excuse me, when Brandon Wilds scores the touchdown, the trick play. And he says chaos and Williams-Brice, chaos. That's such a dope call. That's such a great call. So, yeah. Maybe we'll get JC. Somebody said that JC can do a hell of a Todd Ellis impersonation. Is that true? Lynn Turner, my least favorite is Herb Street. I know people don't like Herb Street because of the Clem Sucks connection. I don't mind Herb Street. I don't mind it. I don't mind. I would love to get him on the show. Michael Lynn says you got to ask JC to do his Todd Ellis voice. It's fantastic. Josh, he's just not a good running back, Todd, coming from Tommy Sucks. Oh, hurt me. Yeah, that's a funny one. Yep, that's a good one. That's classic. I never got to hear Bob Fulton, Travi. I never tuned in when Bob Fulton was calling games. I never did. James Kendall says confirmed it's always a great day for JC impersonations. Well, with that being said, we'll get into, guys, the JC impersonations on the other side of this break. Let's go ahead and take 5. On the other side, we got JC Sherbert jumping on the line. hey, we'll tune in, or we'll be right back so you can tune in. But again, after that, we'll take questions, comments, calls. But on the side, JC Sherbert, you're tuned in to the Daily Crow. All right, guys, we're back. Taking your questions, comments, calls, and we're getting JC Sherbert on the show here in the next couple of minutes, waiting on JC to jump into the broadcast. Again, we will get JC on when he arrives. But anyways, guys, let's see. John Ever said he's not a Herb Street guy, no matter what the connection is. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Through and through. Is he the best? No, he's one of ours. You can't deny his passion, therefore keep calling the games. Indeed. Yeah, no doubt. And Travie, by the way, I've definitely heard the Brandon Bennett call when he leaped over the pile in Athens. I mean, who hasn't heard that, Travie? For sure. That's one of the greats of all time. With that being said, all right, it's 1:15, guys. Let's go ahead and get him in here and talking about one of the greats and one of the best in the business, JC Sherbert of the Big Spur of Inside the Gamecocks. Really joins us. JC, what's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Hey, good to be with you guys today. Happy Thursday. Sorry I missed last week, but got to be back.
For sure. It's great to have you back. JC, before we get rolling into everything, we started to get on the topic of play-by-play guys in college football, college sports in general, and, of course, the subject of Todd Ellis comes up. And I've heard you do a really, really good Todd Ellis impersonation, so I feel like we need to hear this. Is this true, false? What are your you must do a pretty good Todd Ellis if they're saying that.
Oh, yeah, it's basically it's not that hard to do. You just kind of grunt. Oh, ooh, hurt me. He's down to the 25 years old. He's to the 65. Oh, he'll stump over something.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know. I kind of was back in 2003 when he got the job. I was kind of hoping that the other guy would have gotten it, but he didn't. And I don't know. I may have given Todd, I may have been a little militant about it back then, but as that role has evolved, I don't think I'd trade Todd Ellis for any play-by-play guy in the country because he's just he's our guy, and yeah, he may. And I got, like, when he said Markway was down to the 27 years old, it's because Kyle Markway, I think, was 27 years old when he got his last year at Carolina. And all the little quirks and stuff he does. I mean, it's cool. He's really evolved and all that. But yeah, I'll get on it sometimes in the course of the show, and we'll start rolling with it. But yeah, Todd Ellis is certainly an institution around here, and remember him when he used to play quarterback. I was actually talking to Tim Brando the other day on the JC and Morgan podcast, and Tim Brando's first game with ESPN was as a sideline announcer in 1986, South Carolina versus Miami. That was Todd Ellis's first start as the quarterback for the Gamecocks. So time moves pretty quick, but oh yeah, hurt me. Yeah, I can get going on it pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know why, JC, for me, this one stands out when Jake Bentley ran in for a touchdown against Ole Miss, and the call, he was just like, Jake Bentley. Like, he couldn't speak. Yeah. He was so excited. He couldn't spit out what happened. Or to your point, he says, like, down, to the 40, the 45, the 50, the 55.
To the 65.
Yeah, Todd's one of those guys, though, man, and I feel like if you're going to be a college play-by-play guy, like, having passion for the team, it's the area where, like, you can absolutely be a homer. You know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to be almost. Like, you're calling the game for your fan base. You know what I mean?
There's no more Larry Munson. Larry Munson was a homer, but he was just epic. He'd have all these little Munsons where we're sitting there, we're trying to stop them, and they have foot speed all over the field. Dogs down to the 15, and we're down there. And you'd hear his voice get heavy, like, and they're driving on us, and we don't know. We're down to 7, and the rain keeps pouring down here in Athens. One time Munson did a Braves game, and it was amazing because he'd be like, baseball's slower, right? And so he's like, Murphy at the plate, Horner on deck, Oberkfell in the hole. And I was just like, man, that's just epic. Larry Munson calling baseball, but there's no more Larry Munsons. There's no more Bob Fultons or Jim Phillips. I mean, it's a different era. And I think when you have someone as unique as Todd, it's kind of a sort of a blessing, because we all enjoy hearing what he's going to say next. Right.
Yeah. It feels like a bit of a lost art for sure when it comes to radio play-by-play. But yeah, we love Todd Ellis for sure. JC, let's dive into it, man. A huge recruiting day yesterday, and I'm sure you guys are busy talking about it on your boards, on your show. But 3 commitments make it public, coming from the welcome home, stemming from the spring game and that weekend, if you will. 3-star offensive lineman Mike Williams. Of course, these are all 2024 prospects. 3-star O-lineman Mike Williams from Maryland. 4-star defensive back and safety Kelvin Hunter from the state of South Carolina, Florence, South Carolina. And then 4-star defensive back Braden Lee, again from Maryland, as South Carolina just continues their dominance of the DMV. Just talk about those 3 commitments. And of course, JC, the Gamecocks, what they're doing right now. I talked about this yesterday, and I'm sure you have as well. It's just unprecedented. South Carolina sitting right now, I think, 5th in the composite in regards to recruiting rankings. This class shaping up again, the 2024 class, to be one of the best in school history, 7 of the 9. And I think we just lost JC. Okay, let's see if we can get him back in here. I think that was a JC thing, not a me thing. I don't know what just happened. Here we go. Let's get him back in.
All right, there we go.
Here we go. JC, we lost you for a second. You good? Okay.
Yeah.
No, anyway, just wanted you to speak on the 3 commitments yesterday, the 2024 class, but the 3 commitments specifically yesterday, a huge recruiting day for the Gamecocks.
Well, Mike Williams and Braden Lee are both from Charles Herbert Flowers, which, of course, sent Desmond Umeozulu and then walk-on tight end Maurice Brown to Carolina in the last class. That's 4 guys from one school on the roster now. So that's A. And they always put out players, just about everywhere up there. There's about a handful, 4 or 5 schools, Good Counsel, places like DeMatha, Charles Herbert Flowers that put out players. Mike Williams, I say this, I love big offensive lineman named Mike because you can call him Big Mike, and I'm like Mr. Anti-nickname, but I like Big Mike for an offensive lineman, especially somebody 6'6", 330, kind of like a Blake Franks type, big-bodied kid, very good footwork. You can just see the upside. Most of the analysts that recover it nationally that I talked to, think he's going to go up in the rankings because he just like Desmond Umeozulu got a lot better as a high school senior. They feel like Big Mike will do the same. I wasn't always convinced he was coming to Carolina. I knew he liked Carolina a lot, but man, he had a great visit for the spring game. Lonnie Teasley, boy, what can you say about him and his group? Because it is a group, Greg Atkins included, Sammy Searby included, that help him recruit these guys. But I mean, the Great Wall of Carolina all of a sudden is a thing, and this guy is, just like Franks. And what I love about all 4 of them, Chris, is that all 4 could play tackle, right? Carolina has had a lot of really good interior offensive linemen. Not so much on in the pure tackle. They've had to kind of move some guys outside. That's kind of an Eric Wolford thing, I guess. He has different stops. He's had these guys that maybe are guards in the NFL, but they're kind of quicker and smaller and play tackle in his, because he used to be a big inside zone guy, whatever. But these guys are all like 6'5", 6'6", 6'7". They can move their feet. And then you think about what they got in the last class with Big Tree Babalade and Trevon Ball. Marquis Anderson, Jatavius Shivers, and you're really starting to put together depth and talent on the offensive line, and Big Mike will be a big part of that. Lee is a longer, taller corner, sort of reminds me a little bit because he's listed at 163 pounds. I heard he's more like 171, but he's a little thinner. Kind of reminds me of DeMarcus Van Dyke that long time ago played at Miami, or maybe even a guy like Cam Smith, although Cam is about 5'11", this kid's a legit 6'1", that taller, longer corner that Torian Gray really likes, and he can fly and he'll hit you. He doesn't look like a 163-pound guy out there because he brings the lumber, and certainly, condolences to him because his father recently died and some things like that. But, he's always really been high on South Carolina. I was told probably after he visited for the Tennessee game, the Gamecocks thought they were going to get him. And another 4-star guy, Kelvin Hunter. I think it was the first session of the first camp. They had maybe a day or 2 off, but they had the camp after the pandemic when everything opened up. And probably one of the first pieces of news is South Carolina offered this freshman safety from West Florence, Kelvin Hunter. Well, and he kept visiting and visiting. You didn't hear much about him. And then all of a sudden, boom, his junior film comes out. It's a 4-star player with a bunch of offers. Auburn, Kentucky, Michigan all came in and offered him, but his heart was with South Carolina the entire time. He's your typical in-state defensive back, even though he's getting, I think, the rankings and publicity he deserves. You know, a lot of guys don't. DQ Smith, Nick Emenware, list goes on and on. You could even talk about some guys that started at Clemson back in the day, like Tankersley and those cats, that in-state DBs that, Darius Rush, they ended up getting drafted. But he's a guy that certainly he'll bring it. He's an in-the-box type of safety, but certainly is athletic enough to cover. Like I said, 4-star guy. I think 24/7 Sports has him second in the state. He's the top 4 guy in the state. Again, Florence is a place South Carolina should always recruit really well, and they have been. The Xavier Thomas PTSD is over because the Gamecocks are getting really good players out of the city down I-20, so to speak. So 3 really big pickups. Overall, Chris, I'm with you. I don't know that I expected this. I thought, well, you look at different pieces of what needs to be done in recruiting, or what I've always thought they could do to do better. I've always thought, hey, South Carolina's recruiting territory does need to expand a little bit. They need to go Miami to Maine up 95, because you got a ton of players, ton of population, and a ton of students that come to the University of South Carolina from those areas. So it makes sense. It's the closest SEC program to the DMV. I mean, it doesn't seem that way. If you look at a map, you think maybe Knoxville's closer, but South Carolina's got it by about 30 minutes. So it's a popular choice for students. People from up that way vacation in South Carolina. So I've always thought that would work. And then with Taylor Edwards and his connections with Maryland, having worked for Mike Loxley and all that, I figured they'd have some ends, along with Shane Beamer, who's recruited up there. Tori Gray's recruited up there. Did I expect them to become the school of choice for elite? Most of the elite got no. I thought, well, if you could pick off a Nick Harbor or something every now and then, great. But it's more of a numbers game. So there's a box that got checked, and then there's another box: in-state recruiting. South Carolina has to be really not. They have to sign really more than their share in-state, and not let guys leave. I mean, right now you look at the edge position. Well, what if they had Justice Boone and Tyrion Ingram Dawkins? Those are 2 guys that had not been for the transition and the losing and all that. They probably would have gotten both. And so that's vitally important. And you look at the state right now, and South Carolina's getting everybody they want. And so if they don't go to South Carolina, I mean, South Carolina doesn't have an offer on the table for them. And that's kind of what happened under Spurrier, and it's happened quickly. And that's a surprise, the speed at which that's happened. Okay, so the state of Georgia, some of the best players in the history of the program that have come out of Georgia: Sterling Sharp, George Rogers, Connor Shaw. The list goes on. Recently, Mike Davis, JC Horn, all those are Georgia kids. You can mess up recruiting Georgia because there's so many players. You can kind of get caught up in offer list, and really a lot of times, and this happened 2 staffs ago, they take the wrong guys out of the state. That's easy to do. But Muschamp, I think, fine-tuned it a bit. And if you look at the players he got out of Georgia, man, like I said, Horn, J.J. Enigbare, some of the better players were from that state. All right, so check that box. But this staff, Chris, they're not just getting like, okay, nice pickup for South Carolina. They're getting like the kids Auburn used to get, or Florida State got out of that state. Just the kids just right under Georgia's offer board. In some cases, these kids had verbal offers from Georgia. Wendell Gregory, Michael Smith. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think they took a lot of really great players out of Georgia last year. So that's something I don't know that I expected, because I thought Muschamp did such a good job in Georgia. This staff's doing even better. Okay, so Muschamp and his staff, and there are reasons for it. Probably his tenure with the Gators had a little to do with it. They weren't as great in Florida, as maybe Spurrier and his bunch were. Well, now you look at it, Gamecocks are getting right back in it in Florida. You got a 4-star legit dude in Pup Howard you beat the state on. You've got some guys. Unfortunately, they lost Anthony Rose, but he was a stud that was going to work out. K1 Banks is from Tallahassee. Brian Thomas Jr. is from Orlando. So they're getting back in there. All right, so here's what shocks me. The rest of the stuff I can kind of see, you know.
Mm.
They're going into places like Mississippi and not just getting in the game for guys like a Daniel Hill or Kamarian Franklin. And I don't know that they'll get Franklin, but they lead for Hill. Here's a 4-star legit top 125 player in the country from Meridian, Mississippi, an hour from Tuscaloosa. You know that the Gamecocks are right there on top for. When they hired Jody Wright, that was one thing that was mentioned. Jody's got a lot of connections over in Alabama, Mississippi, and Beamer wants to recruit over there. And I was like, well, you know, they'll get the Captain Munnerlyn or the DeAndre Allen or whatever. I didn't expect this. You know, so you start plucking guys out of the SEC West. You start plucking guys out of the DMV in the Northeast. You pluck guys out of Florida. You dominate your state. You know who did that and won a national championship and had one of the best programs in the country for a long time in the SEC East? That's what Tennessee used to do. You know, Tennessee, for every guy like the Clausens or Eric Haynes that they go to Oregon or wherever and get, they were really, really active in picking off little handfuls out of other SEC states, especially South Carolina during that time. And I think that when you're at a place like South Carolina that has the population, but, you know, the population is bigger in South Carolina than it is in Alabama, but there's not the numbers. You know, getting quality guys from out of state is your biggest challenge, along with guarding your own state. And I've just been kind of floored by like the expansiveness of where these guys are able to go recruit, and it looks like it's going to continue. I mean, man, I looked at 2025 the other day. South Carolina either leads or is in the top 2 for like 4 of the top 17 players in the country, including the top 2 players in the country right now for 2025. That's laying groundwork and building relationships. And I'm usually pretty optimistic about recruiting, but I don't think I expected this to be happening right now.
JC, did Mike Locksley sell his soul to get Jayshon Barham to sign 2 years ago? Because Shane Beamer has been dominating in the DMV ever since.
I don't know. There was a lot that went on with that one. You know, a lot of last minute back and forth and things like that. You know, at the time, usually, Chris, when a kid comes down to and there's those types of shenanigans that take place, usually the player doesn't end up being that good, right? Well, he's pretty good. And so I wish South Carolina would have gotten him. But yeah, they went all in on that one, and I think they may have ticked some people off and all that. But you also have to keep in mind too, the 2 guys that got Nick Harbor, Jody Wright and Sterling Lucas, that they weren't. I don't even think they were on staff at that time. Kimbry was still there, and of course, Mike Peterson was still there. So, you know, Sterling Lucas, when he was hired, you know, you talk about recruiting the DMV in Maryland and all that. I guess it got lost on me and everybody else. The guy spent 5 years with the Ravens. Now that's coaching pro ball, but he lived up there. So he has to know some of these folks, and he's done an excellent job, you know, to be a guy that had never recruited on the road until he got to South Carolina. Boy, he's pulling some players, especially at his position. And, you know, Lonnie Teasley has some connections up there. Like I mentioned, Jody Wright was instrumental with Harbor. It's just it's been quite a turning of events. And, you know, unfortunately, if you're Mike Locksley, you not only have to fight off Penn State and Ohio State and the SEC and everybody else, you have to deal with South Carolina. And so that's probably sticking in their crawl a little bit when the Turtles are concerned.
It's like the Jordan meme, you know, when he said, "And I took that personally." I think that's Shane Beamer when it comes to like, he's been taking it. Yeah, he's been taking it personally ever since. JC, let's move off of recruiting just really quickly on this because I feel like we've been talking about this all week, and I hate to just like keep bringing something up where it's just like per sources kind of deal. But you and I had conversations off here as well. This whole Jordan Burch thing, everybody's got questions about it. Whatever, you know, the talk was that he'd like to come back to South Carolina. I mean, who knows if it's actually even going to happen. Anything to add to it? Again, you don't have to go into crazy detail, but I mean, that rumor had to start from somewhere. And obviously, again, you and I spoke on it, but just overall thoughts on that situation, I'll say.
Yeah, it's something that I don't, just from the people I talk to, that nobody really considers it what I would call likely. But I'm also not going to sit there for anybody that has said something about it and say they're lying, because there's some truth there to maybe him wanting to come back. A lot of moving parts, though. I mean, for him to be kind of free and clear and be able to do that, Chris, he would have to have graduated from the University of Oregon in one semester. I don't know how you do that. If you just kind of roll in there and graduate in a semester, I don't know how you do that. Number two, they just passed these rules that are warding against the pretty easy to get waiver for the second. So unless they find a hard and fast loophole, he would have NCAA issues coming back. And then I did check with a source that talked to Dan Lanning personally, the head coach at Oregon. Now, keep in mind, this is an Oregon source, right? They said, "Oh, he seems fine. He seems fine out here." But I know enough about the situation to know that it's not just a completely made up BS out of thin air type of situation. But I just, with the hoops that would have to be jumped through and kind of the eligibility part of it, I'd be very surprised if he even transferred back. And if he did, then you're looking at another situation where you got to, rely on the NCAA. So unless there's some sort of hard and fast, no doubt, no brainer waiver argument, I still think he'll stay at Oregon. But I mean, this should have never been the situation. I mean, you have to kind of think about that sometimes. The grass is not always greener. It is in Oregon in the summertime, because it's very green out there, but most of the time it's cloudy and all that. So you have to think about that if you're going to leave and go, away from a place you've lived your whole life and all that, to some places all the way across the country. And it's unfortunate. I mean, these are still college kids, and we all do dumb things when we were in college. But so if he indeed is unhappy, it's very unfortunate. Especially considering that. This year, had he stayed at South Carolina, I don't know what he's going to do at Oregon, but had he stayed at South Carolina, you could see him the light starting to come on and setting up, for that really good final year like Zach Pickens had last year. And certainly, there's a lot of playing time available at edge. So, we'll see what happens with that. But I don't want to sit there, because some folks will just dismiss things like that. It's ridiculous. It's not a ridiculous thing. There's a reason the talk's out there, but is it going to happen? I'd be lying if I said I was anywhere at all confident that it would.
Mm-hmm. JC, let's move into the spring game, some on-field action. I feel like there's so many things floating around right now that as the off-season's begun, they're like these talking points that, we love to talk on the field, what actually happened. So your overall thoughts on the spring game? I mean, offensively, Rattler's crisp. Eddie Lewis appears to be a top target. Trey Knox flashes. Thoughts of DeCarrion Joyner, the running back position. Then defensively, Brian Thomas Jr., what he did off the edge. Jerron Willis, Pup Howard flying around making plays. Stone Blanton, Jelon Kilgore. I mean, there's tons of takeaways, especially for the diehard, right? It's so easy for us to go into a spring game and say, well, it doesn't count. It doesn't matter. Like, we're not wired to watch a game and be like, well, none of that mattered. Like, it all matters, right? So, I mean, just overall takeaways and thoughts. What stood out to you from the Garnet and Black spring game?
I'll start with the offensive scheme. I think that if that's vanilla, I'd like to see what. I guess do you call it chocolate or strawberry or Neapolitan? I don't know, but I'd like to see what the 2.0 version is, because they did a lot of things that you never saw. I mean, how many crossing patterns? I mean, they threw it over the middle of the field. That should have drawn a standing ovation from the crowd. I like their short, quick passing game, Chris. Satterfield went quick, especially like early on last year. But man, how many of those passes that he would dial up were behind the line of scrimmage? And look, if you've got great blocking receivers and you've got an advantage on the perimeter, you can attack that way and be okay. But if you don't, and you're getting behind the chains, behind the sticks on first and second down when you're passing. That's tough. Put your offense in a tough spot. Well, Dowell Loggins, this system looks to be like, they are running quick game and short patterns, but they're all these 3 to 5 yard outs, right? We had Perry Orth on the show right after you were on today, Chris, and he kind of compared it to like an old school West Coast offense where, you are throwing those short passes for positive yards, hoping they'll turn into 8 to 12 yard gains. So I like that part of it. I like the passing game part of it. I understand the run game struggled, but I have a feeling they'll get that fixed, and I also, before I judge the O-line, I want to see what, like, the actual O-line play. I mean, this was a hodgepodge group from the start. They didn't have all their starters on one line. And so there's that. You mentioned the tight ends. To me, Josh Simon and Trey Knox have a potential to really make an impact. Eddie Lewis, I know Spencer missed him on the first, but he was, 10 yards wide open, and then made some really nice plays. I think if you're kind of looking at who he can replace Josh Van kind of and play that Josh Van type of role where, and I think he's probably a little faster than Josh in a straight line. Really like what I saw out of him. I think that D'Carrion Joyner at running back is something that can work out. You'd almost like a couple of those runs, Chris, for him to, instead of bouncing it to the outside, to follow his blockers up inside, because when he did get between the tackles, I thought he was effective. But I think that will come because I think as a quarterback, sometimes maybe his tendency is to hit that edge. You got to kind of navigate follow the navigational beacons, as Jimmy Buffett says, right? And I think in time he'll be able to do that. And I'm not talking about in time like middle of next year. I'm talking about like, hey, by the time the season gets here, I think he'll be much more comfortable. I think Anderson is a guy that's adjusting to the speed of the game once he does, and you kind of saw that in the spring game. I think he's going to be fine. Obviously, they do need a portal running back for anything, depth purposes at the very least. So that's a big priority. Defensively, I do like what I saw out of Brian Thomas Jr. I thought, as a what you call a DPR, down pass rusher, that's a guy that can help in the rushing department. I think, situationally and things of that nature. Really liked Elijah Davis too, kind of in a similar type role as a down guy that can get to the passer. Pup Howard obviously played really well. I thought Jalen Kilgore flashed to me, the true freshman safety. And then Stone Blanton, I think as an in the box linebacker, Chris, he's night and day better, like quickness wise, reading his keys wise, filling his hole wise, that kind of thing. I didn't see enough out of him to kind of get a gauge on, is he going to be like Nakobe Dean and be able to track a guy down from the other side of the field or not? I doubt that. But as he's gotten more comfortable and worked on his speed and things like that, he seems to be at a better spot. And not that he was awful all year last year. It's just there were some noticeable times where his speed got the best of him. But I really like what I saw out of him as well. So that would kind of be my whole, like off the top of my head, my thoughts just personally about some of the guys we saw Saturday night.
JC, of the guys that flashed in the spring game, I mean, especially the newcomers, but just of the guys that impressed you most, we know in spring games, right? Take it with a grain of salt. Just because you're the spring game MVP, it doesn't mean you're about to be all SEC and have some great season. But of what you saw, was there one guy or two, or was there a guy you saw that you feel like that's a sign of things to come and you could see having a really, really big 2023 season?
In that category, if you're talking this season, it'd be Trey Knox. And, because look, we talked to Trey Biddy from Arkansas, our Arkansas site, twice in the preseason, just kind of talking about that game. And he raved about Trey Knox both of those times. And then against Cincinnati, he had the big touchdown. But as the year went on, Trey caught a lot of touchdown passes, but he, 22 receptions. You're kind of like, oh, well, it's kind of like Jaheim's numbers. But that dude's legit. And everybody I've talked to, they're like, that dude's a grown man. And he's also a guy that's come into the program, embraced the program, which is kind of weird sometimes for a guy that's like a fifth-year transfer, and is a leader in that room. So Knox would be that guy. I think if you're talking about beyond this season, Lenora Sellers has to be the guy. I'm not trying to be the Captain Choo Choo of the hype train here or anything, but there are just factual reasons why you like him. I mean, he's huge. He can run. He's poised. That pass he threw to DJ Black, who I like as well as a walk-on receiver. That on the RPO there in the second half, he just guns it in like it's nothing. Several other passes his receivers kind of could have gotten to it. There's the throw to Kylik Horton, and Kylik was out of bounds, right? But number one, how about Kylik Horton making the one-handed grab? Number two, he stuck it where only Kylik could get it. And that's so important with quarterbacks because the defensive backs in this league are so good. But he's got a cannon. Like I said, I'm not sure. I don't see him unless something bad happens. I don't see him being the starter this year. But I think when you look down the road, it's not going to take him that long to develop and get to the point where he could not just be good, but I think great. I mean, I think when you look at like just who he is, it's pretty easy to determine that down the road, that's going to be somebody that could be special.
Is it too bold of me, JC, to begin asking the question? I mean, we all believe in Shane Beamer. We believe he's, let's just say, going to win an SEC championship. Let's just say he's going to get to Atlanta. Is Lenora Sellers that quarterback? Is that Beamer's quarterback that gets him there? I don't mean to
I'm
put
going to say,
spot,
I'm going to say this.
Who that guy's going to be.
He's the type of quarterback that can get you there. Because and Carolina's recruiting really well at receiver. I think at least for 2024 class, they're going to get 2 stud running backs. You look at the offensive line recruiting that they're doing. Look what they're doing on defense. When you have talent across the board that you can go compete against the best teams in your league with, your X factor many times is your quarterback. And a guy like this, I mean, how do you stop everything? Because if he can throw and you got a bunch of fast receivers that can catch and that are going to, make, light up the scoreboard. If you got great tight ends that are athletic, that can get down the field. If you got really good running backs and you got an awesome offensive line, I mean, you can try to get everything stopped under the sun, and he's still going to dart out for 10 or 15 yards a lot of the time. I mean, that was kind of one of the better things Connor Shaw did when he was here. Spurrier dial up a play. Let's go try this one. And it wouldn't be there. And Connor just run around the end for 10 yards, drive extended. And then you're talking about his size and how big this guy is. I mean, so, just like everybody found out last year with KJ Jefferson, it's hard tackling that guy all day. It was hard tackling Cam Newton all day. Well, then guess what? This guy's faster in a straight line than probably both of those guys. I don't remember exactly what Cam ran out of high school. I think it's faster than I thought it was, like a 4.55, something like that. And I don't know that KJ was like about 4.7. So you talk about all what's going to be kind of an equalizer against some of these better defensive teams in the league, and what makes you problematic to stop. It's usually a quarterback like this guy, where you're just going. It almost makes you sick. You stop everything else, and then boom, great. You can play the defense perfectly, and he's going to dart up there and get those yards and really hurt your feelings. So, is he the guy that will lead Carolina to an SEC championship? Who knows? But that type of guy, that's how those types of quarterbacks that can do things like that. Those are the guys that usually lead breakthroughs when you're talking about, a division hopeful becoming a championship contender.
JC, on the diamond, South kind of Florida this weekend. I know that JB and I feel like we took up the entire segment this morning just talking baseball, but and I know you and I haven't spoken in a couple weeks, obviously. So it's been an interesting last few weekends for the Gamecocks. As we mentioned this morning, for the third straight weekend, you're the premier series, I think, in the SEC. This weekend, it's 3 versus 6, obviously, and another great opportunity to really showcase why you are one of the elites in college baseball and solidify, right, your chase to a top 8 national seed. So just overall thoughts on South Carolina navigating the gauntlet and then this series this weekend against Florida at Founders Park.
Yeah, well, if you can win this series, it's 4-4 coming out of this gauntlet. There's another one coming up, but this gauntlet, and I think, I thought if they went 4-5, that would be a good deal. I think maybe my expectations got a little higher after the slugfest the first night against LSU and then beating Vandy 14-6 in game 1. But I'm going to use a little superstition thing that has nothing to do with, and my intelligence about baseball is not, I wouldn't call it super high. But my fiance and I are kind of superstitious when it comes to baseball. And we're always worried, like when one of our teams starts off a series with like 13 or 14 runs, because when you look at the averages of the sport, you almost run out of runs. You're only going to get so many, in other words. So you'd almost like to move 7 from Friday over to the rest of the series or whatever. And I think that happened because Carolina was up 4-0 again against Vandy in game 2. And then they just ran out of runs, right? And Vanderbilt's a really good baseball team. A lot of teams struggle up there with them. The field, the way they play, the speed. They're a momentum team too, so you really have to not let them ever get momentum if you're going to beat them. And so it was what it was. First series loss of the year. I'm sure Carolina wishes they could have 1 or 2 of those back. So this one, they got to come to Founders Park. You mentioned earlier on the show that the last time they came up here, they were completely rattled. They're a spunky, competitive team with a lot of talent. And we'll go see. I mean, they've got, their pitching staff. Don't let them fool you with the ERA. We talked to Monty Lee earlier this week, and he's like, they got some elite arms. So, and Carolina's got some injury issues. So you got to kind of, weigh all that and go shoot your shot. I'll say this, though. There's no reason why the Gamecocks can't win the series. I think this team has answered most of the questions this year. They're coming off a series loss. So, hey, it's time to get after it and get back up and go see what kind of damage you can do. Because as JV pointed out, it's time to start talking national seeding all of a sudden. I mean, we're at April 20th today. So time to start talking about, can they be a top 8 seed and all that good stuff.
JC, this has been electric as always. Before I let you go, one last thing. Was just sent this 4-star defensive lineman Heaven Brown Schuler is announcing his commitment tomorrow live on 24/7 Sports. Gamecocks are amongst one of the 8 finalists. The other schools are A&M, Michigan, Georgia, Virginia, Clem Sucks, North Carolina, Oregon. That's tomorrow at 4:45 p.m. Eastern. They'll be streaming that live on the 24/7 Sports YouTube. Any indication of where the Gamecocks stand there?
Yeah, they don't feel good. I think I think he's going to Clemson. And it's just one of those guys from out of state that once he started, and he visited Carolina a lot when he was younger. But once he started visiting Clemson, he just really fell in love with the place, from what I'm told. I know somebody that knows him really well, knows his family really like Clemson a lot, and that's the one. Georgia, if you look at Clemson's recruiting, that they may not be able to get what they used to get in state. They may not be able to get what they used to get out of North Carolina and, nationally, but they still do really well in the state of Georgia. He's a really talented guy and another defensive lineman going to the Tigers. But I think the Gamecocks could be okay at that position. I just you hate, because I do think Carolina led early, and you hate to lose that early lead, especially to your in-state rival. But it is what it is. You're not going to beat them head-to-head on everybody. They've been too good recently. So hats off to the Tigers for getting one. And if you're the Gamecocks, you just got to keep on keeping on and see what else you can pull from this class.
You can't get them all, which is why we always say all we got is all we need. Shane Beamer is certainly getting what Carolina needs at this point. JC Sherbert of Inside the Gamecocks, Other Big Spur. JC, always a pleasure, my friend. Truly appreciate doing this electric combo as always, and looking forward to chatting with you again soon, my friend.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Yes, sir. Appreciate JC. And we got 5 minutes left, guys, so we'll keep the show rolling. Let's open up the phone lines here. Let me see. Let me get the phone lines open. 843-790-3377. In case anybody wants to sneak in a last-second call, I thought really good stuff there from JC Sherbert. I thought really, really good stuff. Ruben Nation said, I heard Pastor of Payne is friends with him and his family and told him to stay away from Columbia. Really? Really? Old Corey Miller. You don't think he's still salty, do you? Wasn't that a Spurrier thing versus a South Carolina thing? That's something. If you got one of your alums negative recruiting against you, that is, I don't know. Interesting to say the least. Guys, let's see. Let's get into your comments. I saw Eric Reese, our guy Reese, with a comment about JC's hair. What's scarier, having to block Jadeveon Clowney or JC's hair? I love it. Again, I appreciate JC Sherbert taking the time. That was a lot of fun. JC does a great job, and always a pleasure speaking with him. And per JC, Heaven Brown Schuler will most likely be choosing Clem Suck. So again, as he mentioned, you can't get them all. Shane Beamer is certainly getting what we need at this point. Guys, be sure to check out the podcast, whether it dropped this morning, episode 777, a full breakdown of the Florida series. Also the Burch rumors, if you will. What else? Recruiting, talked a lot of recruiting. And Brett Ciancia of Pick Six Previews as well. Really, really good stuff on the pod today. Of course, TDC, guys, you can drop it. It drops every single day at 3 o'clock. You can find it there on the Spurs Up Show podcast feed as well. All of our audio content can be found there. Guys, hope again to see you out at Carolina Ale House Fort Mill tonight. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll have all the merchandise for sale. Going to be a really good time. John Edward, it's an hour and 45 minutes. It's not too bad. It's really not too bad, John Edward. Somerville was like 2 hours and 45 minutes. And then next week, a week from today, will be our final tour stop. That is Myrtle Beach. That's a 4-hour trip. So unfortunately, I hate to tell you guys this, but I don't think we're going to rock TDC next Thursday or Friday because just travel. I mean, just travel. There's really no way to do it. Anyways, let's jump to the phone lines here. And we got a spam call to end the show. Great. Love that. I have been getting so many calls about my car's extended warranty and health insurance. Like those two things that I have been getting blown up by people. Absolutely blown up by people. So I don't know, man. I don't know what it is with the spam calls of late, but it's all, yeah. Car's extended warranty though has been just nuts. That has been nuts. So let's see. Travie, what do you think our run defense numbers will be, Chris? Run yardage that we give up. Travie, let's go through the portal and see who we add. I mean, I don't know, man. Better than 194 yards per game. Travie, I'm almost just saying that because I don't want to think it could possibly be worse, right? So I'm going to say better than 194 yards per game. Retired band homie, a.k.a. Brendan. Surprised you aren't taking another break after JC. Brendan sits here and acts like I take 100 breaks a day. I take 3 breaks over the course of a 2-hour show. 3 breaks. Most shows are taking breaks like every 20 minutes. I'm taking a break at the 45-minute mark, the normally hour 15 mark, and like the hour 40, hour 45 mark. So absurd, man. Even the Big Cock Club Discord comes at me. Guys, again, this has been a lot of fun today. I appreciate y'all. Looking forward to a great series. Again, I've got South Carolina taking down Florida 2 of 3. I think it's going to be a great weekend. A lot of offense, expecting a lot of home runs. 2 of the best home run hitting teams, the 2 best home run hitting teams in all of college baseball. I think the ball will be flying over the yard. But you know what? This is a great weekend also for South Carolina's pitching to step up, to make a statement. And it starts with Will Sanders tonight, Jack Mahoney tomorrow. You need those 2 dudes to pick up the slack with Noah Hall out. why not? Great weekend to have a weekend, great weekend to win a series, and a horrid weekend to be a Gator. Guys, that being said, we have hit 2 o'clock. Again, thank you all so much for the continued love of sport. We will be live tomorrow, of course, noon to 2. But until then, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you all so much. Go Cox, beat Florida, and we will see you all tonight at Carolina Ale House, Fort Mill.